So you're really denying my family's visit because they didn't have my daughter that's 3 months old? They didn't have her social security card? What do you mean my people can't get in for visit? They drove over 4.5 hours to come and see me. She thinks she's just going to get away with not allowing my family to come in to visit? I got something for her. Oftentimes, these correction officers, they get a little overbearing, so that's when you got to put a little act right in. I don't feel sorry for her. She got exactly what she deserved. Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again. Real Ken's TV in the house like kitchen sinks. You know, the great Paul Harvey, rest in peace, once famously said, you want to see the true scum of the earth? Go to any prison during lunchtime. Go to any prison break room during lunchtime. Allow that to soak in for a second. That is such a true statement. See, the thing about it is this. Correction officers are not all bad. Just like police are not all bad. But you're always going to have some that are way over the top, obnoxious, overbearing, absolutely no heart whatsoever. I'm going to bring you all the story of Miss Rodriguez, Officer Miss Rodriguez. Now, some of you all may have heard this story before because I told it early on, maybe 6 or 7 months ago, you know, when my channel really wasn't getting very many views or what have you. So, I'm going to tell this story again. Officer Rodriguez was probably the nastiest correction officer I've ever encountered in my life. And I've ran across a lot of correction officers. She was about 5'5". She had to have weighed about 240, 250. She was actually a pretty woman. You know, she kind of reminded me of J-Lo, to be, you know, perfectly honest or what have you. But she was just a heavier J-Lo. But she was actually a pretty woman. But she just came to work every day as though she was just miserable. As though she just really hated men. She would find any and every reason to write you up. Miss Rodriguez was so nasty that a dude had made parole one time. Now, in Kentucky, you go for parole 2 months early. So if you're granted parole, you have to wait 2 months until you go home. Well, the slightest thing, such as a fight or write-up, can cost you your parole. She knew a dude had made parole, and she wrote him up for like something very petty. It made that man lose his parole. That's how nasty Miss Rodriguez was. So a lot of people just really didn't like her. There was really like a disdain for Miss Rodriguez. You know, she would just come around just picking, just simply because she could. One particular instance, I never will forget, dude's name was Todd, man. Todd was from like Tennessee. I forget what part of Tennessee, but it was, I don't know, about 4 or 5 hours away. The actual prison that we were in. He was so happy. He woke up that morning. He had been anticipating a visit from his family the entire week. In prison, in order to get visits, people, like, you have to have a visitation list. So the people that's on your visitation list, they can have a felony. And if it is, like, if they do have a felony, it has to be approved by the warden. Everybody, you know, they do a background check on the people, what have you. So his parents were coming up there, his wife, his 2 kids, and they had a newborn. I believe at the time the baby was maybe 3 or 4 months old. When Todd first came in, his wife was pregnant, so she had the baby while he was incarcerated, unfortunately. He was so excited. He was going to have an opportunity to actually see his family, to hold his kids, to hug his kids, to give his parents a big hug, to hold his wife. See, in prison, you don't have a lot to look forward to, but visits is very key. It's very important. So you got people in prison, man, go see them. Loved ones, friends, go see them, because that means the world to them. So Todd's anticipating his visit. You know, he wakes up early in the morning. He goes and he gets the iron, and he's ironing his prison uniform. You know, that's what inmates typically do. You know, you want to look fly when you go out there on visit. You know, it's other people. You want to be presentable, whatever. You done been to the barbershop, got groomed, well rested or whatever. You up, you ready, you waiting on your visit. They called Todd over the intercom. Todd, I forget what his last name was. Inmate Todd, report to visitation. Inmate Todd, report to visitation. Todd goes up to visitation. He's happy. He's anxious. He's full of joy. He's sitting in the visitation room and he's waiting. He's waiting. Now, that's not really uncommon because sometimes, especially on a nice day such as today, Saturday and Sundays are visitation days. So 9 a.m., 3 p.m., those are the visitation hours. So sometimes the visitation line is kind of long because they have to process you and check you in. So when you go through the gates, there's like a little, like a little guard shack there. And it's a window. You pull up to the window, they take your ID, make sure you're on the visitation list. Once everything checks out, they send you on in. Boom, everything's cool. He's waiting. He don't know what's going on. He's going, hey, what's going on with my visit or whatever. They tell him to go back, sit down. Once everything's ready, we'll call you. Okay, cool. He knows that his people's there because they wouldn't have called him if his people weren't there. So his family is at the gate and Miss Rodriguez is working visitation this day. Everybody, they got the kids' birth certificates. They got the kids' social security cards. Everybody else social security card. She notices there's a little baby in the back. 3-4 months old. She asked for the baby's social security card. At that point, they didn't have the baby's social security card. I believe they may have had the birth certificate, but they didn't have the social security card. Well, I'm not going to be able to let you in. What do you mean, ma'am? I mean, we've all gone through the background check. It's just a little baby. Last time I checked, babies, 3-month-old babies don't have felonies. They don't have criminal records. It's just a baby. Yeah, but CPP policy says that everybody must have a social security card. But it's a 3-month-old baby. They're not arguing with Miss Rodriguez. They're pleading with her. No heart. Absolutely no heart. I'm sorry. We can't allow you into the facility. Turn around. Head back home. 4 or 5 hour drive. They're very distraught. Kids is crying. They want to see their father. Wife is crying. Parents is upset. They go back and tell Todd, go back to the dorm. Go back to the dorm, man. I'm here for, y'all called me for visit. Your family wasn't able to get in. What do you mean my family wasn't able to get in? What happened? We don't know what happened. Go back to the dorm. So Todd is furious. He's furious. He goes back to the dorm, gets on the phone. Actually, he don't even make it to the dorm. At this particular prison, they got phones on the outside. So you don't have to go to your dorm. They got phones like on the yard. So you can stop, get on the phone. He calls his people up. They're crying. The officer wouldn't allow us to get in because the little baby, I don't remember what the baby's name was or whatever. We didn't have the birth certificate. I mean, we didn't have the social security card. We had the birth certificate, but we didn't have the social security card. Are you kidding me? They wouldn't let you in for that? Well, who was it? Her name was Rodriguez. That B. That's how he reacted. That B. Okay. So he goes to the captain. He goes to the lieutenant. Anybody that has any bars, any stripes, he's trying to talk to them to try to figure out what is the deal? What is the problem? It's a 3-month-old baby. Well, she was just doing her job. If it was me, I would have personally let him in, but it's at the officer's discretion. And technically, they are supposed to have the social security card. Yeah, but my family just drove 4.5 hours away, man. Just to put them back on the road to drive right back over a social security card? A social security card? That's my baby. I've never seen my child a day in my life other than pictures. It would have been the first time that I was going to see my child. I understand, Mr. Todd, but hey, you got to take that up with Miss Rodriguez. Well, how am I going to take it up with her? Well, what you can do is you can file a grievance. Okay, well, a grievance is basically a complaint that you file against an officer in prison. 9 times out of 10, it ends up in the garbage can. The officer would tell you, hey, make sure you spell my name right on the grievance. Absolutely does nothing. See, the thing about it, in prison, they're going to take an officer's word over yours any day of the week. It doesn't matter if that officer was 1,000% wrong. They're going to go off the word of the officer. They're never going to believe an inmate over an officer. The only time that they're going to reprimand an officer is when they find out that an officer is actually helping an inmate, bringing something into them, doing something that they're not supposed to do with or for them. That's just how they are. See, they want nasty people. You know, they don't, the people that are nice, that are just there to get their paychecks, they don't get promoted. A lot of times they don't care about getting promoted. They're just there to, you know, get their money, pay their bills or whatever, and go home. It's the ones that write people up. It's the ones that's nasty to people, curse people out, get in fights with the inmates. Those are the people that they want to promote to eventually become the lieutenants and the captains and sometimes eternal affairs. And I've seen some people even go up to ward. But you're not going to get that high up the ladder being a nice person in prison. They want you to treat the inmates like total crap. So now Todd, he really has it in. He has it in for Miss Rodriguez. He files his grievance. Of course, nothing comes about it. One day we're in the dorm. The dorm that we're in, they called it End of the Earth because it was like way, way away from everything. It was probably a good quarter mile from the child hall. It was just away from everything. And the dorm really needed to be condemned. We were on the 3rd floor. You walk in, you got your middle floor, you got the basement, and then you got the upstairs. So I don't know if it's technically the 3rd floor, but it's upstairs. Upstairs, when you walk in, to the left, you got a dorm that holds 12 people. To the right, you got a dorm that holds 12 people. And when you go straight, they got the 2-man cells in the back, which it's maybe 5 of those. 2-man cells, you got 2 people, you know, per cell. So I guess basically that dorm held what? 12, 24, about 36, 40 people, somewhere right around in that range. So that's how the dorms were designed. And Todd and I, we were in the same dorm. Todd was a cool dude. I ain't really know him, but you know, we had been in the same dorm for a while. Cool dude. I had been there much longer, but didn't bother anybody. White dude, laid back dude, man. Worked out all the time. Was real good with his hands, like plumbing, and he could fix anything. Just one of those cool dudes. Hey, man, can you help me with this? My CD player's messed up. Yeah, take it, fix your CD player, fix your TV. One of them type dudes, real cool. He really has a vendetta at this point for Miss Rodriguez. He can't stand her. Every time she works the dorm, now officers rotate. She might work the dorm for 2 or 3 days, and then it's another officer, and it's another officer. Typically, they'll rotate. So every time he sees her, he's just mugging her. He's looking at her. So he approaches her one day, politely. Miss Rodriguez, you know, he had cooled off, even though he was still mad about the situation. Miss Rodriguez, could I have a word with you? Yeah, is there any particular reason why you turned my family away, other than my daughter, you know, not having her Social Security card? Which she can't have her Social Security card. She's only 3 months. My parents, my wife had to, you know, have a Social Security card. It hadn't been issued to her yet, and you know, I just don't understand why you would turn somebody away. It was nearly a 5-hour drive. Ms. Rodriguez, she was nasty. Basically told him, you know, get your affairs in order next time. They knew that they were supposed to have the Social Security card. It's not my fault that they drove down there this far. All of that time, knowing that they didn't have all the proper documentation. So what do you want me to do? I'm doing my job. Yeah, but you're doing your job, but it's at your discretion. No disrespect to you, but it's at your discretion. And you chose not to let them in over a 3-month-old not having a Social Security card. Nevertheless, it was like talking to a wall. Miss Rodriguez, she wasn't trying to hear anything. He goes on back to the dorm or what have you. She catches wind that he filed a grievance. Because he never told her that he filed a grievance. She catches wind that he filed a grievance. One day, right after count clears, Todd, Mr. Todd, you stay right there. Shake down. Turn around. Or put your hands behind your back. Sit in this chair. In Kentucky, the way that they shake you down, they cuff you with your hands behind your back. You sit in a chair and you watch the officer conduct the shakedown. He knew this was clearly retaliation for filing a grievance. She had just shook him down maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks prior to that. Now you shaking me down again? Now, officers, they have to do so many shakedowns per shift. Most officers, they cool. They'll come in, hey, man, can I get a shakedown? Yeah, cool, man. They cuff you, sit you in the chair, 2 or 3 minutes. You know, they're doing it for the cameras. 2 or 3 minutes, they done. Okay, you go on about your merry way. Todd was in, I believe he was in like welding class or plumbing. It was something like that. So he had to get to class, but she decided to shake him down. And when she shook him down, I mean, she shook him down. She went through every piece of mail, every piece of commissary, every clothing article that he had in his locker. She went in his foot locker, checked everything, lifted his bed up, tore his mats and sheets out. All his belongings and property was on his bed, just thrown in a big old pile. Miss Rodriguez, I got to get to class, man. How long is this shakedown going to last? As long as it needs to last. Another 20 minutes goes past. Miss Rodriguez, I'm really missing class. Like, this is a little excessive. It's been like 45 minutes and you still shaking me down. She ignores him. About an hour and 20 minutes later, total, she's done with the shakedown. Tells him stand up, takes the cuffs off of him. He's livid. He's really ready to knock her out. He's really, really ready to just lay her out. I'm not a advocate for violence. I definitely don't suggest doing anything to a woman. In this situation, Miss Rodriguez didn't even act like a woman. She didn't even act like a human. She had no compassion whatsoever. All of his stuff was thrown everywhere. They're supposed to put your stuff back the way they found it. So he's like, man, you just gonna leave my stuff out here like this? She's like, oh, you want me to put your stuff back? Grabs all his stuff in one big old pile and throws it in a locker. Dirty clothes mixed with the clean clothes. Not to mention, this is what she does. She's looking at all of his receipts. That's what took so long. So a lot of you that never been to prison, you say, well, why would she be looking at his receipts? I'm going to give you a prime example. Say he has 20 packs of noodles in his locker. You're supposed to be able to account for everything that you have in your locker. So if you got 20 noodles in your locker, you have to be able to show a receipt showing you purchased 20 noodles. If you have a receipt that's only showing that you've purchased 14 noodles, guess what? She's taking the other 6. And that's what she did with him. She took everything that wasn't accounted for with the receipts that he had in his locker and then wrote him up for unauthorized property. This is no joke. I can't make this up. So now, not only did this guy, Todd, miss his visit with his family, hadn't seen his family in months. Excuse me. Now he has a pending write-up because he filed a grievance against her. That's retaliation. Blatantly. That's blatant retaliation. I'm going to get her. I'm going to get her. If it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get that beat. That's how he's talking at the time. That's how he felt. And I felt it. Miss Rodriguez, you would think that there would be a conflict of interest. She continued to work the same dorm. Typically, they only work 2 or 3 nights, then they rotate. She had been in this dorm for a week straight. He came up with a plan. He plotted, knowing that she was going to be in there, because you're able to see which officers come to the dorm before they get there. Oh, she's working our dorm again tonight? Okay, I got something for her. Now, remember I told you, we wanted the 3rd floor, the upper floor. So when you come in, you're on the middle floor, you go up the stairs, 12, 13 stairs, and it's a landing. Turn the corner, then you go up another 12, 13 stairs, and you're upstairs in our dorm. To the left is dorm A. To the right is dorm B. It's 12 men in each dorm. Then you go straight back. It's like maybe 5, 6, 7 2-man cells back there. Something like that. So when you come in to count, you have to count each individual dorm. 11 o'clock count comes around. He knows that, at this point, Miss Rodriguez, she had been there since 4. So clearly he knew that she was working the dorm. He told a couple people. A lot of people didn't know. So you got inmates and you got convicts. You got inmates is going to tell it a lot of times. Convicts, they're not going to say a word. That's just the way that it goes. He tells a couple people, hey, man, I'm going to get her. What you going to do, Todd? Todd had some baby oil. He had already plotted. So he had gotten rid of the actual baby oil container, but he kept it and put it in another, like a smaller container. He had already plotted for some days. She comes up the stairs, man, and she goes in to do her account. I need y'all to watch out for me. I'm going to run outside, put that baby oil on the stairs. Nobody really thought that he was going to do it. You know, like I said, it was only a couple people that knew. I knew about it, but hey, I stay out of that. I don't want no parts of that. But I did know about it. She goes in, like clockwork. She goes to the left. She counts dorm A. She comes out of dorm A. She goes in the back to where the 2 men dorms are. When she goes back there, Todd knew, okay, it's going to take her a minute because it's like 5, 6, 7 different rooms that she has to go in. He goes out, puts the baby oil all on the top few stairs. I'm talking about he put baby oil all on the stairs, man, like the top 3 or 4 steps. Runs back in the cell. She never knew. Now, the thing about it is this. That building should have been condemned, as I mentioned earlier. So they had cameras, but the cameras weren't everywhere. They just had them in like certain spots. And in this particular hallway area to where once you initially, like the little landing area that they have, you go left to dorm A, you go right to dorm B. There was no camera out there. There was no cameras whatsoever. So he knew that the cameras wouldn't pick up on it. Nobody else knew other than a couple people in the cell. He goes out, puts the baby oil, then he comes back in, empties the baby oil out, and I believe he flushed the bottle. It was a little bitty small bottle. So he flushes the bottle, no evidence. Washes his hands, no baby oil on his hands, nothing on his shoes, anything like that. Miss Rodriguez leaves out of our dorm. She walks out of the door. As she walks out of the door, our dorm was the last dorm that she counted. She walks out of the door. The stairs were probably 4 feet away, maybe from our door. 3 or 4 feet away. It wasn't very far. Maybe 5 feet. It wasn't very far. Next thing you know, we sitting in the dorm. You hear nothing but, ah! You know how in the movies, when somebody, let's just say something's about to happen, somebody's going to get hit by a car, somebody's diving in front of a speeding bullet, and they jump in front, and no! And it was like slow motion. That's the sound that you heard from the hallway. Heard a whole bunch of screaming. Dudes run to the door. Miss Rodriguez was at the bottom of the stairs on the little landing. Remember I told you it was 12, 13 stairs. She had fallen down that flight of stairs. I don't know at what point she fell, but she was at the bottom. Her head was bleeding, and she's holding her foot, and she's screaming, ah, ah, ah. So dudes is laughing. I'm not laughing. I'm just like, whoa, here, let me back away. Let me get away from this totally. I don't even want to be here. I'm going back in the dorm. She's at the bottom of the stairs. She's screaming or whatever. A couple people rush to her aid, bootlicking trustees, man. There's always going to be some people that, let me take it back. I'm going to take that back because she's still a human being. Even though she didn't act like a human being, she acted more of an animal than the inmates acted. She's still a human being, and basically they go down and go to her aid. They get on the radio. They call, hey, man, the officer's down, what have you. They telling the people over the radio what happened. 6, 7 officers rush to the dorm. They're telling the inmates, get away, get away. It's like, oh, man, we helping her. Oh, we didn't do anything. She fell down the stairs. We did absolutely nothing. They take her out. They end up having to call the ambulance. She had cracked. I think she broke her ankle. Pretty sure she broke her ankle, literally. Broke her ankle. She needed stitches in her head or whatever. They take her out. Dudes is high-fiving, laughing, and I'm not doing any of that stuff. In my mind, I'm kind of like, damn, man, she got what she deserved. But I didn't want to be seen anywhere celebrating, or I didn't want my name brought up. I was going up for parole soon. I didn't want my name brought up in anything. Of course, they came in, conducted an investigation, shook everybody down, put the dorm on lockdown for a couple days while they did the investigation or whatever. If y'all don't tell us what happened, everybody's going to be charged. Yeah, whatever. You can't charge everybody. It ain't going to work. You know what I mean? That's not going to work. How you going to charge everybody? She could have just fell down the stairs. Nobody really knew exactly what happened or whatever. Miss Rodriguez went on to miss several months. She missed a lot of months. I don't know if she had anything on the prison, because when she came back, all of a sudden she was promoted. Now she was Sergeant Rodriguez. I believe that she always felt as though Todd had something to do with it, but there was absolutely no proof. How you going to prove that I did it? How you going to prove that anybody did anything? You fell down the stairs. You fell down them stairs. Nobody tripped you. Nobody made you fall down the stairs. You know what I'm saying? You should have been more careful when you was walking down the stairs. Todd felt vindicated. Yeah, I told you I was going to get that beat. I told you I was going to get her. Nobody said a word. A lot of snitching goes on in prison. Same way it goes on out here in the streets, it goes on in prison just as well. This was one of those situations. Nobody said anything. They was happy. They was happy, man. A lot of people was like, shoot, I hope she dies. Again, I don't advocate anything like that, but I'm just giving you all the rundown, and I'm painting the picture, and I'm letting you know these are sort of statements that people was making. You know, I hope the ambulance gets in a wreck on the way taking her to the hospital and she don't make it. Like, people hated Miss Rodriguez. As I mentioned earlier, it was though she hated men. She would come into work and just talk crazy and just do whatever she wanted to do. See, prison, being a correction officer is one of those jobs to where if you're not having a great day, you can always come in and take it out on the inmates. You know that the staff has your back. If you don't like men, or your dude made you mad at home and you disgusted and fed up with men, guess what? You come to work and take it out on the male inmates. Happens all the time. This is what some officers don't understand. Inmates allow you all to go home to your family. If they don't want you to go home, guess what? You're not going to go home. Now, you come in, you acting all big and bad, and you get beside yourself or whatever. I done seen inmates get with some officers. I done seen them get with some officers. I ain't never seen them, stab no officers or kill no officers, anything like that, but it does happen in prison, man. So, a lot of you correction officers that may be watching, that may happen to see this, if you're there to just get your check, do your job, you're strictly by the book, you're not going to put your job in jeopardy for nobody, no inmates, cool. But if you're overbearing, you're aggressive, you're just doing things and saying things to people simply because you know that you can get away with it, that's not cool. That's not cool, and you're going to deal with some form of karma, just like Rodriguez did. Yeah, she definitely dealt with karma. And people, like I said, they were laughing. And when she came back to work, she was nastier than ever. She was just a nasty individual. She didn't like life. Evidently, she did not like her life. Rodriguez ended up staying maybe another year or so, and then she ended up going to the feds. So as far as I know, she works in the feds. That's all that I know. Hopefully she changed her attitude, because if she didn't, federal inmates, man, they doing a lot more time. They're not going to be as patient with you. Situations like that occur every day in prison, man. Every day in prison, you got somebody acting just like a Rodriguez. And you probably have people that are worse than her. I've never really ran across any that are worse than her. But you got people, man, they just hate inmates. They hate people. They hate themselves. They definitely do. Real Kens TV, man. Hopefully you liked the video. Feel free to comment, definitely share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and be sure to hit that post notification so anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Oh, Miss Rodriguez, I never will forget that sound. Ah! Real Kens TV.